What's going on, my gamers? El Doinko here. Sorry that I had to take that little break. I should be going back to pretty regular uploads, like once or twice a week at least. Real quick, just wanted to make myself make a video today because I knew it's been like a week since I've uploaded anything. So I wanted to quickly talk about this idea. It's just how I would fix tunneling in DBD. It would require a large overhaul to the format of DBD matches, but I'm taking some creative liberties here, mostly inspired by DBD's lore and also certain Dungeons and Dragons things. So the first thing is the mentality that I think that people's issue with tunneling is not necessarily that it's an effective way to win, but because it knocks you out of the game. Because right now the problem is like people used to 3-gen, but they can't really 3-gen anymore because if there's a gen regression. People would hit and run, but hit and run is becoming a little bit less viable with certain meta changes. I mean, I guess it's pretty good now, but I don't know. Especially why they nerf Sloppy Butcher. Like I don't run Sloppy, but I know people love that perk, and it's really I don't understand why they would nerf that shit if it enables a playstyle that's not 3-genning or camping or tunneling. And yeah, people used to camp and they still camp, but like it's a bit more difficult now. There's the anti-camp system, so now a lot of people are complaining about tunneling because some people complain about tunneling while others empathize with it, saying, well, that's the only good tactic left is tunneling. But yeah, so in my opinion, the issue with tunneling is not necessarily that it's an effective way to win, but because it removes you from the game, and all you want to do is play the frickin' game. You just want to play DBD, so when you get tunneled in the first 3 minutes of a match, it's really disappointing, and it's a real bummer, because you gotta go and queue up for another match, or if you're in a Swift, you gotta wait for everybody else to finish, so now you're just sitting there in your ass, you gotta wait 10 to 15 minutes for your friends to finish the match before you can actually play again. Before you can queue again. So if you have a long queue, that's like it could be like up to a 20-minute wait before you actually get to do anything ever again. So here's some ideas, and this won't be perfect. This isn't perfectly conceived. I thought of most of this today, but it's just an idea. It's just a discussion video, so you can come at me with your critiques and your ideas. I'll read everything. But basically, this is gonna sound terrible, but we're gonna remove the dead from Dead by Daylight. Now, don't shoot me. The idea here is, from my surface level understanding of the lore, the entity feeds off of like suffering, and perhaps it's deeper than that, but my understanding is it doesn't need to just kill people, like it needs to feed off of their negative emotions and stuff. And people who are lore experts can correct me all they want. I don't read the lore, I'm borderline illiterate. So here's the idea, right? You still kill a survivor in 3 hooks. 1, 2, 3, they die. You can bleed them out. 4 minutes of bleed out time and they die, that's fine. They'll die in all the same ways. But when you die, there is a timer. You get put into a respawn timer where you can re-enter the game. So survivors die, and then they get sent to another realm. Perhaps think about the realm from Haunted by Daylight. Now think about those assets being repurposed for the sake of a secondary minigame that you play when you're out of the game. Alright, so you die, you go into this pocket dimension, or the secondary dimension, and you have a timer, okay? Now the timer is based on your bleed out time. So this is to discourage killers from just slugging people because they want to reduce their timeout, basically to extend their timeout from the game, essentially. So the time, let's say that there's a portal, like in the Haunted by Daylight, they had the big flashy portal. Let's say there's a portal to return to the match, but you have a timer before that portal activates, and it's based off of 50% of your total bleed out time. So if you had exactly 4 minutes of bleed out time left, which isn't really possible because you'd bleed out a few seconds at least, even if you got picked out instantly, your maximum would be 2 minutes. But if a killer slugged you for 3 minutes, or if they slugged you to death, then that portal is instantly open, so you can just re-enter the game right away. Or you can explore this realm and do some minigame. Let's just, using in-game assets that exist already, let's just say, Haunted by Daylight, there's those ghosts around the area. Let's say you have to run around with the ghosts, and each ghost has one of your perks. And if you want your perks back, you have to go to each ghost and like suck them off or whatever. Or maybe do something more interesting, maybe there's skill checks involved, just something, right? You gotta go and do something that's at least a little bit engaging. And let's say each side objective you do, you get one of your perks back. Or you can re-enter the game as fast as possible and just enter with no perks. Okay, so this is just to incentivize like a secondary objective. So you re-enter the game. Now, wherever the player spawns from, that's a bit difficult to figure out the spawn logic there. I'm not sure where they would come out of. Like maybe they would just phase into existence out of like a random area that's maybe away from other players. That's kind of hard. That's just a logistics question that I don't really have an answer for. But you re-enter the game, right? And now you're perpetually on death hook. So next time you get killed, you go back to that realm. Same rules apply. Maybe the wait is extended every time you die, so maybe you add on another minute or add on another 2 minutes or something for every time that you've already died. Like Commander Tax in Magic the Gathering. So the Tomb of Horrors is this infamous and silly Dungeons and Dragons dungeon module where it's just extremely difficult, and that's the whole bit, is it's extremely difficult. And a lot of Tomb of Horrors is trial and error. Like a lot of it is you die to stupid shit. Like, the whole adventure is about red herrings and deception and the players dying to stupid shit. Now, Tomb of Horrors is cute, but of course there's a lot of critique because it's, like, borderline unplayable, and it's just supposed to be a cruel thing, right? So there was another adventure that's more recent called Dead and Thay. Now, in Dead and Thay, it's very similar to Tomb of Horrors in that you are exploring just a giant freaking crazy dungeon that's just full of insane bullshit that'll kill anybody. But Dead and Thay, for the sake of gameplay, introduced an idea called soul binding. So with soul binding, basically the idea is that if a player dies, they can choose to bind their soul to the dungeon. So you come back to life, but you can't leave. Like, you come back to life so you can play the game, but when it comes to completing the dungeon, your character, lore-wise, your character is trapped there forever. But the idea is that you're playing in this super deadly arena, but at least the player gets to continue playing when they get killed by some crazy shit. And that's kind of the idea that I'm proposing here for DBD. It's the idea that you can still kill players, but at least they get to keep playing, and that way they get to keep having fun. And then, so one of the concerns is that this would empower the survivor side, so you'd have to do some other rebalancing changes to kind of make up for it. So a couple of things would be, maybe after your first death, you suffer a major action speed penalty. So maybe your healing speed and your repair speed, maybe even your gate opening speed. I like the idea that a dead player can't open the gate. That's an idea too. Like a soul dead player, like a sacrificed player can't repair the gate. I also like the idea that once you get to the gate, if you are a dead player, you cannot enter the exit gate area. Like, you can't, when you open the gate and there's that little section before you escape, like, the player cannot leave that area, or they cannot enter that gated area, basically. Just as like an idea of like, you're fucking dead. And then after all the players escape, then the dead players get that animation where the entity comes out of the ground and fucking twists you in half. Like, that could be fun. So what else we can do for rebalancing? Increase the number of aggression incidents for gens. So a change like this, since people are not dying, would probably like kind of have the result of elongating matches, where you're more likely to play matches that go on for longer, because you can't just eliminate. In current DBD, if you kill 2 players, that game's basically over. So in this case, we'll maybe increase the regression incidents for gens, maybe from 8 to like 10 or 12, so that the killer has more of a chance to mitigate the fact that he's always facing 4 players. Hooks don't break when you die on them, so that way the killer is never... not never, but the killer is, they're not running out of hooks in an area because they got kills in there. And then also maybe something like exit gates regress when idle, so you can't 99 gates anymore. I think this is something that I wish the game would implement right now, actually. But the idea is, okay, you've had 4 players the whole time, the game has gone on, it's going to go to the end game more often, it's gonna make it that far. So I don't think people should build the 99 gates. I like the idea that, yeah, dead players can't do gates at all. And yeah, so that's kind of the idea, right? And it's not really up to me to say what the community would do, because if these changes were implemented, the community would find a way to optimize it in their own way. So the only thing that I really thought of was, okay, well, if a player is just going into timeout when they die, then I'll bleed him out for 3 minutes and then hook the motherfucker. So then he's still, to maximize the amount of time that he's not doing anything. So that's why I thought of the bleed out time. So, I'm not sure what else there would be concerns about. I'm sure there's something. It's just an idea. It's just a theory. Like, yeah, it would drastically change the game because you would not have the ability to remove players from the game, essentially. Of course, in this idea, if all 4 players die, game's over. Like, if all 4 players get sacrificed 3 times or they all hit their last hook state, then the game will end there. Oh, Hatch. Hatch would be a question. Hatch might not be a thing. Well, okay, so if we're playing with this idea, let's say that we have the ability to make this happen. There was somebody else who had a fun idea where when it's a 1v1, the game just becomes a 1v1 chase. So maybe if there are like 3 players die, like full die, and then there's only 1 survivor left in the game, we'll just go to a sudden death minigame where, yeah, you enter like the Haunted by Daylight realm and you have to win in a 1v1 or whatever, or like you have to live a certain amount of time versus the killer, and then the amount of time that you have to live in your 1v1 is affected by the number of remaining gens. So basically, the more completed gens, the shorter that time. Maybe it's like a base time of like 1 minute, and then it's 30 seconds additional for every remaining gen. So if you had 5 gens remaining, then that's 3.5 minutes, which is pretty long for a 1v1, and especially if the area isn't that big. Like, if the playing area is not that big and there's not that many windows or pallets or some shit, 3 minutes is fucking forever. But if you had 1 gen remaining, then it's like 1 minute and 30 seconds, which is totally doable. Or if you're in the end game and then your 3rd teammate dies, it's like a 1 minute chase, which is absolutely doable. But yeah, so this just, again, it's just a fun idea. I wanted to make a quick video about it and just, you know, let the community know that I'm back on my bullshit. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any fun ideas. Or if you think I'm fucking crazy, that's cool too. And yeah, just hit me up in the comments, whatever. And yeah, thanks for watching and have a great day.